Jesus of Nazareth is widely acknowledged by historians to be a real person. Tacitus, a Roman historian, refers to Christ in his Annals, written in AD 116. Mentioning his execution under Pontius Pilate during Emperor Tiberius' reign. Similarly, Jewish historian Josephus mentions Jesus in Antiquities of the Jews. These accounts, although brief, suggest Jesus was not a Roman invention, but a figure rooted in first century Jewish life. Gospels as primary sources. The New Testament Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, depict Jesus as a Jewish teacher and miracle worker, claiming to fulfill messianic prophecy. Roman involvement in Jesus' death. Political context. Rome's involvement in Jesus' crucifixion reflects its governance rather than a creation of a myth. Pontius Pilate's role, as recorded in John 19, 1-6, shows a Roman governor reluctantly executing Jesus to placate Jewish leaders and maintain order. Theological context. According to Christian doctrines, Jesus' death fulfilled divine prophecy. Isaiah 53, 5-12, Psalm 22. Christianity and the Roman Empire. Persecution of Christians. Early Christians were persecuted by Rome, notably under Nero. If Rome had invented Christ, it seems counterproductive for it to persecute his followers. Constantine's role. Christianity's adoption as the state religion under Emperor Constantine, Edict of Milan in AD 313, marks its institutional acceptance, but occurs centuries after Jesus' life. Some argue Constantine's reform influenced Christianity's structure, but not its foundational figure. Biblical and theological evidence. Prophecies fulfilled by Christ. Scripture emphasizes Jesus as the fulfillment of Old Testament prophecies predating Rome's empire. Examples include Micah 5:2, predicting the Messiah's birth in Bethlehem. Isaiah 53, the suffering servant. Isaiah 7:14, the virgin birth. Jesus' teachings, The Sermon on the Mount, found in Matthew 5 and 7, and parables reflect a distinctly Jewish context and critique of both Roman and Jewish power structures, rather than a Roman fabrication. Theological rebuttal to the invention theory. The Jewish context. Jesus' teachings align with Jewish messianic expectation, but also challenge them. The specificity of his fulfillment of prophecy makes the theory of Roman invention unlikely. The apostles' testimony. Jesus' disciples, many of whom were martyred, consistently proclaim his resurrection. 1 Corinthians 15, 3-8. Such conviction is difficult to reconcile with fabrication. Jesus' kingdom message. Jesus proclaimed a spiritual kingdom. My kingdom is not of this world. John 18 and 36. Countering Rome's political structure rather than reinforcing them. The questions are, where did the lie of Christ being a Roman invention originate, and who's perpetuating it? The idea that Christ might be a Roman invention originates from speculative theories rather than mainstream historical scholarship. It has been perpetuated in modern times by certain scholars, conspiracy theorists, and critics of Christianity. Now here's a detailed exploration of where this idea came from and who has perpetuated it, grounded in historical references. Origins of the theory. Roman power and propaganda hypothesis. The hypothesis suggests that Rome, seeking to pacify religious Jewish population, invented Jesus as a figure who promoted peace, obedience, and submission to governing authorities. Joseph Atwill's Caesar's Messiah in 2005. Atwill's book claims that the Roman Flavian dynasty, specifically Emperor Titus, fabricated Jesus to control Jewish insurgents. He argues that parallels between Jesus' teaching and Roman political needs support this theory. This theory is not supported by mainstream historians due to a lack of credible evidence and its speculative methodology. The key figures perpetuating the idea: Joseph Atwill. Atwill is the most prominent modern proponent of the theory. His arguments focus on alleged literary parallels between the Gospel and Flavian court writing, which he interprets as evidence of deliberate fabrication. Critics of religion and conspiracy theorists. Some anti-religious thinkers and conspiracy theorists adopt this theory to discredit Christianity, seeing it as a tool of control rather than a spiritual truth. Internet and popular media. The internet has amplified fringe theories with videos, blogs, and forums perpetuating the idea without rigorous historical critique. Refutation of the theory by historians. Historical evidence for Jesus. Jesus' existence is attested by multiple sources, including non-Christian ones. Tacitus, Annalist 1544, refers to Christ's execution under Pontius Pilate. Josephus, Antiquities 18:3, mentions Jesus as a wise teacher and the Christ. Pliny the Younger, letter 1096-97, describes early Christians worshiping Christ. Theological context. Jesus' teachings are deeply rooted in Jewish tradition, emphasizing adherence to the law, love for one's neighbor, and the messianic fulfillment of Hebrew prophecies. These themes are inconsistent with Roman culture and political agendas. Early Christian persecution. If Rome had invented Christianity, it seems contradictory to have persecuted Christians so severely during Nero's reign and later. Motivations for perpetuating the theory. Criticism of religion. By presenting Christianity as a political invention, critics aim to undermine its legitimacy as a faith. Misinterpretation of early Christian-Roman relations. The relationship between the Roman Empire and Christianity, eventually culminating in Constantine's Edict of Milan in AD 313, is often oversimplified, leading to claims of collusion rather than gradual historical development. Scholarly census. Mainstream historians, both religious and secular, overwhelmingly reject the theory that Christ was a Roman invention. The New Testament's theological and historical depth, rooted in Jewish tradition and messianic expectation, is inconsistent with such a fabrication. In closing, I leave you with the words of Christ. But whoever denies me before men, him will I also deny before my Father who is in heaven.